Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. The Oblivion Remaster has been out for a few weeks now, and hopefully you've had a lot of fun diving into the world of Cyrodiil. But if you're anything like me, you're probably interested in trying out a few different builds and playstyles to get the most out of the game. So today, we're going to look at 5 lore-friendly builds that won't just help you create a strong character, but also build a backstory and character arc for role-playing purposes. Whether you're new to the game, or a veteran looking for a fun new build, you should find something you like here. But bear in mind, we're not trying to break the game. There's plenty out there already about how to play the meta and create ultra-powerful, godlike characters. Don't get me wrong, that is a lot of fun, but this guide will focus more on building a lore-friendly character you can use to immerse yourself in the world with. For each build, we'll go over character creation, backstory, and a character arc to set yourself up. We won't be trying to do everything on a single playthrough. Exploring the game through multiple characters will help you get the most out of it. With each build, we'll also introduce some limitations to make sure things don't get too easy. And I'll also include write-ups for each build in the description if you want to try any of them yourself. Anyway, enough lollygagging, let's get started. We'll start with a build suited for those who prefer a more stealthy approach. The Shadowscales are an elusive group of Argonian assassins. As one of their number, you will use your expertise in stealth and magic to dispatch your targets without mercy. You are an Argonian from the Arnesian region of Blackmarsh. You were taken as a hatchling and offered to the Dark Brotherhood, who trained you in the arts of stealth and assassination. You learned their ways quickly, and you had already killed your first target before reaching adulthood. When you came of age, you were sent to a sanctuary in the city of Gideon. You quickly rose through the ranks, gaining a name for yourself as an effective operator. But then, disaster struck. A member of your sanctuary was caught on a mission to assassinate an Imperial official, and the guards launched a raid on your base in retaliation. All of your comrades were slain, and you barely managed to escape with your life. Alone and hunted, you had only one choice, to flee to Cyrodiil and find safety with the Brotherhood there. But you were complacent. As you crossed the border near Leowyn, you stumbled into an Imperial ambush. Surrounded by a dozen legionaries, you gripped the hilt of your blade. You knew you had no chance of fighting your way out. Your service to Sithis had taught you that death comes for all, but you knew that your death here would be meaningless. You let the blade slip from your hand and allowed them to take you alive. They dragged you away to the Imperial city dungeons, and you spent the next few years in darkness and solitude. But the dark flame of Sithis still burned in your heart. Deep down, you knew that Dread Father was not through with you, so you watched and waited for a chance at escape. And when it came, you seized on it, fleeing through the sewers and out into the wide world beyond. With your backstory established, now it's time to create your character. As a Shadowscale, you're going to be an Argonian. This will give you a good spread of stats for both stealth and magic skills. For our origin, we will choose Arnesian. This will give an extra 10 points to agility and speed, which will be essential for becoming an effective assassin. Argonians also give some interesting miscellaneous bonuses, such as poison immunity, disease resistance, and water breathing. We'll be creating our own custom class, which will be something of a cross between an assassin and a nightblade. Our specialization will be stealth, and we'll be picking agility and intelligence as our chosen attributes. This will help us boost our damage with short blades, as well as increase our total magicka pool. You'll want to level these quickly, as well as putting other points across speed, willpower and luck. For skills, sneak, security and light armor are all no-brainers. For our weapon skill, we'll take blade, and make a build based around daggers. As any Skyrim player knows, stealth builds can become a little too easy if you rely on archery, so for a little extra challenge, we're totally banning marksman from this run. You'll have to get up close and personal and play a little more risky, but it should make things more interesting. For magic skills, we'll take illusion and mysticism, as they have some nice utility spells for an assassin, including paralyze, frenzy, and detect life. We'll round out our skills with alchemy. This will allow you to create powerful poisons to boost damage and inflict crippling status effects like paralyze or silence. For a birth sign, we will choose the thief. It's not only thematically fitting, but also probably the best attribute boosting sign in the game, as it gives an extra 10 points to agility, luck, and speed. Now, when you leave the sewers, the first thing you're going to want to do is find your comrades in the Dark Brotherhood. But as you're an unknown here in Cyrodiil, you'll need to start from scratch, and to do that, you'll need to wet your blade with the blood of an innocent. There are a couple of places you can find an unsuspecting victim. The Skooma Den in Bravel offers several easy targets, as does the abandoned shack in the Imperial waterfront. If you want more of a challenge, go to a city and pick your own target, learn their routine, prepare an ambush, and strike when they are alone. Once the deed is done, the Brotherhood will visit you the next time you sleep. From here, you'll progress through the Dark Brotherhood questline, and once you're done, you might consider the Thieves Guild too. Though remember, they do not approve of murder as the Brotherhood do. In terms of gear, you'll get the Shrouded set when you join the Brotherhood, and it's good enough to see you through to the endgame. For your endgame weapon, if you hold off finishing the Brotherhood questline until level 30, you can get the best version of the Blade of Woe. Alternatively, if you go to Sundercliff Watch after level 20, you can get the strongest version of Mehrunes' Razor, which is arguably the best dagger in the game. You can also grab the Crimson Eviscerator and the Raiment of the Crimson Scar from Deepscorn Hollow, but don't go there until a higher level if you want the best versions. Overall, the Shadowscale is a fun playthrough for anyone who wants to try an assassin playstyle, and it's a great way to experience two of the best questlines in the game. This next build will be ideal for anyone planning a magic-based playthrough. The Daedrologist is an expert summoner and a scholar of the Plains of Oblivion. You will bolster your magical abilities with powerful Daedric artifacts to become a force of nature, and even the most powerful Daedra will bow before your might. But as always, power comes with a cost, and it might be one you aren't willing to pay. Now for the backstory. You are an Ultima, born on the Isles of Somerset to a family with a long history of magical accomplishments. From a young age, you knew you were destined to become a mage, and this came true when you were sent to the Crystal Tower to study the secrets of magic. You were a promising apprentice, but you were always pushing the limits of what was allowed. You became obsessed with the Daedra, the secrets they hide and the gifts they offer, and you drew the ire of your Ultima elders, who despise the demon lords of Oblivion. After breaking one rule too many, you found yourself cast out of the academy in Somerset, and so you came to Cyrodiil to continue your arcane studies. Yet you soon ran into the same problem. The Imperials were almost as suspicious of the Daedra as the Ultima, so instead of joining the Mages Guild, you carried out your studies in secret, even selling your skills to willing buyers. But you went too far, too quickly, and one day, one of your experiments got out of hand. As you tried to bind a lesser Daedra, something greater came through from the other side. A hulking monster, a Daedroth. You fled the scene as the monster began its rampage. At the end of it all, your laboratory was in ruins, 3 bystanders were dead, and the guards had clapped you in irons for causing it all. It seemed your career was over before it even got off the ground. You spent a year brooding in the Imperial City dungeons, and you decided that your experiments weren't the problem. The problem was you. Too weak, too naive. If you ever got out, you promised to redouble your efforts, do things the right way, learn everything there is to know about magic, make yourself strong enough to be worthy of the secrets of Oblivion. You prayed to every god you could think of to get you out of this place, and soon your prayers would be answered as you were released from the dungeons. Now let's talk character creation. For our race, we're going to go with Ultima. That will give us 100 extra points of starting magicka, as well as boost to all magical skills apart from restoration. On the downside, it also gives us a weakness to magic, but we'll find some ways to mitigate that. For our origin, we're going to go with an Auradon Ultima, as the extra 10 points of endurance is useful for adding a bit of bulk. We'll make a custom class for the Daedrologist, with intelligence and endurance as our chosen attributes. We'll get these both to 100 as quickly as possible to maximise our health and magicka pools. For our skills, we'll choose the 6 schools of magic: Alteration, Destruction, Conjuration, Illusion, Mysticism, and Restoration. We'll also take Blade to give us another offensive option, and to take advantage of some of the Daedric artifacts we'll find later. Now, the birth sign is what's going to set this build apart. A lot of people are reluctant to play with the Atronach because of the stunted magicka effect, which stops you from naturally regenerating magicka by waiting or sleeping. But the upsides are huge. 150 extra points of magicka, plus 50 points of spell absorption. That doesn't mean that you absorb 50% of a spell's damage or effects. Rather, you have a 50% chance of absorbing the whole spell and replenishing your magicka. It also helps to offset the Ultima's racial weakness towards magic. We'll talk about how to play with the Atronach sign in more detail shortly. Now, let's talk about your playstyle. You'll be using magic to deal damage, summon minions and stack buffs, keeping a trusty blade by your side for close encounters. But because of your stunted magicka, you're going to want to keep plenty of magicka potions on hand. Ayleid Ruins will be your best friend, as Ayleid Wells and Welkin Stones can be used to fully replenish your magicka. I like to keep a steady supply of Welkin Stones on hand to essentially use as magical batteries. Alchemy is also a useful tool for mass-producing restore magicka potions. Even though it's not one of our major skills, with your high intelligence, it will level fast. Long term, you're going to want to boost your spell absorption as close to 100 as possible to guarantee you soak up all magic cast at you. Enchanted items will be key for this. The Mage's Guild quest Ulterior Motives will give you the Spell Drinker Amulet, which gives you 20 points of absorption after level 20, and 26 points after level 30. Mankar Cameron's robes from the main quest also give you up to 20 points, or the Spellturn Cloak from the Mehrunes Razor quest can give you 15 points. There are also several randomised enchanted items to boost your absorption, and you can also farm sigil stones if you want to make your own enchantments, though this can take a while. Now for our character arc. The first thing you should do is go to the ruins of Vilverin across from the Imperial Sewers and loot it thoroughly. This will give you a good supply of Welkin Stones, as well as some valuable loot you can sell. As a Scholar of Magic, you will want to sign up with the Mages Guild in the first city you visit. Gather all 7 recommendations and you'll be admitted to the Arcane University, where you can start to work your way up. But your ultimate goal, as a Daedrologist, will be to gather forbidden knowledge, and to do that you'll need the Ogma Infinium, Hermaeus Mora's Book of Secrets. To acquire this, you will need to complete every single Daedric quest and gather all of their artifacts. You can start Azura or Shia Gorath's quests at level 2, but you'll need to be level 20 before you begin Mora's quest. By the time your collection is complete, you'll be almost godlike in power. But there's no need to stop there. If you so choose, you can face down Mehrunes Dagon and the Mythic Dawn, or go and explore the Shivering Isles and try and uncover the secrets of the Mad God. Speaking of madness, that leads us right into our next build. This next build is perfect for players who want to try a more unorthodox approach. The Acolyte of Madness will be based around creating maximum chaos and confusion in the name of their patron god, Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness. But there is a catch. As part of your mad bargain with the Daedric Lord, you will not be allowed to inflict damage directly. Don't ask why the God of Madness demands this. It wouldn't make sense, even if he explained it. But, as one of his devoted, you will have to think outside the box to spread his madness across the land. Now, the backstory. Your family wasn't rich or poor, and you were one of many children. At a young age, you were sent off to become an acolyte of the divines. You spent your youth in quiet study and contemplation, with ambitions one day of becoming a priest. But as you grew, you began to see things that weren't quite right, hear voices that weren't really there. They took you to the healers, but there was nothing they could do. Touched by Sheogorath, they said. And so your descent into madness began. You fled the priory where you were raised and took to the wilds. You danced through the fields, under the moon and stars, laughing all the while. You spoke to the animals, and you heard them speak back. You sang to the trees, and you saw them dance in reply. The world was full of vibrant colour, and every night you heard Sheogorath speaking to you, and you did his bidding without question. But one day, that all came to an end. You were caught stealing a wheel of cheese from the market and arrested by the guards. In truth, it wasn't the theft they locked you away for, it was the madness they saw in your eyes. And since then, you have rotted in the Imperial City dungeons. But you haven't been alone, for there are plenty of friends inside your skull to keep you company. When creating your character, you can pick whatever race you like. After all, madness doesn't discriminate. Our specialisation will be magic, and our chosen attributes will be willpower and personality. Keeping with the theme, we'll be picking an eclectic group of skills. Illusion and Conjuration will be your bread and butter, allowing you to distract enemies with summons, calm or frenzy them, or simply slip past unnoticed. Alteration, Mysticism and Alchemy will also give you some more options for dealing with encounters. The touch of Sheogorath has also given you a glib tongue, so you can use speechcraft to charm and trick your way through Cyrodiil. Finally, we'll be choosing heavy armour, as we'll be quite vulnerable without a direct form of damage. For our birth sign, we will go with the Lady, for the 10-point boost to both willpower and endurance, which will increase our survivability and magical regeneration. In terms of playstyle, you'll need to get really creative with this one. Because you aren't dealing direct damage, you have a few unusual options for dealing with combat. The first is summons. Using Conjuration, you can call in undead minions or Daedra to fight for you, bringing more chaos to the battlefield. If you want to make things even messier, bring a companion along with you too. The second approach is illusion. Spells like Frenzy and Fear can make enemies run away or turn on each other. Or you can use invisibility to simply walk right past their noses. Another tool you want to use is Reflection. There are some reflect damage and spell items you can pick up along the way. If you stand there long enough and just let them hit you, they'll eventually drop dead from the reflected damage. If you combine these tools creatively, you can sow chaos without a single swing of a weapon. Now, let's talk gear. This build is probably the most reliant on specific items. As an Acolyte of Sheogorath, you'll obviously want the Wabberjack as soon as possible. This staff transforms any non-NPC creature into another random creature for a period of 10 seconds, and is a great tool for sowing chaos and confusion. It's available from level 2 by completing Sheogorath's Daedra quest. Just find his shrine northwest of Leowyn to get started. Another great early pickup is the Staff of Everscamp, which causes 4 scamps to appear and follow the bearer. They're pretty weak, but you can use them as a sacrificial shield, as they respawn regularly. Another shout out goes to the Sanguine Rose, the Dremora summoning staff you can get through Sanguine's Daedra quest, and the Ring of Nemira from the Nemira's Shrine quest. This ring is available at level 5, and provides 12% reflect damage, together with 10% reflect spell, giving you a handy source of indirect damage. I'll also mention the Skull of Corruption, the staff you get from Veamina's quest, which allows you to summon a clone of an enemy to fight alongside you in battle. For armour, just wear the heaviest you can until you eventually get access to Madness armour in the Shivering Isles. Then, you'll really look the part of an Acolyte of Madness. Now, the character arc for this one is pretty simple. Head for the Shivering Isles and devote yourself to the God of Madness. You must find your way through Passwall, take your place in the Court of Madness, and stop the Grey March of Jiggelag, who threatens to bring order to your beloved Isles. In time, you'll come to resemble your patron so closely that no one will be able to tell the difference at all. This next build is a personal favourite of mine. The Penitent Knight has turned away from a life of crime and dedicated themselves to justice and service to the Divines. Dressed head to toe in heavy armour and wielding mason magic as their weapons, the Penitent will serve as the vengeful guardian of Cyrodiil, bringing salvation to the worthy and death to the wicked. First, let's talk about the backstory. You grew up as a street rat in the slums of Bravil, and from an early age you had to scrabble and steal to survive. It was a hard life, and you spent much of your youth in the dungeons of the city. Once you were grown, you joined up with a group of bandits and made a living as a highwayman. You committed terrible crimes, more robberies and murders than you can even remember. And it wasn't just for survival. Deep down, part of you enjoyed it. But eventually, the law caught up with you, and your gang was ambushed by a squad of Imperial guards. After a bloody struggle, you were the only bandit left alive, and the guards dragged you back to the Imperial city in chains. They tossed you in prison and threw away the key. There you would linger for year after year, slowly rotting away. But one night, as you lay despondent in your cell, a vision appeared before you. A blinding light filled the room, and you felt the weight of all your sins come crashing down. Your very soul was stripped bare under the gaze of divine judgment. And in that moment, you pledged your life to the gods. And when you awoke, you found yourself reborn, renewed. You waited patiently in your cell, devoting your days to silent contemplation and prayer. Then, after a decade of captivity, a chance at redemption finally arrived, as you were set free by the Emperor himself. But you know that your new freedom is not a gift, it is a burden. For Cyrodiil is assailed by evil on all sides, and as a servant of the Nine, it is your duty to defend it. When choosing a race, an Imperial would make the most thematic sense as the champion of Cyrodiil, and has the right bonuses to work well with the build. But any of the human races would work well too. In particular, a Breton can make for a strong character with its 50 extra starting magicka and 50% magic resistance. Our birth sign for this build has 2 options. We'll be doing a lot of hitting and getting hit, so we can go with the warrior for that nice strength and endurance boost. Otherwise, the Lord gives a plus 15 armor rating and 15% magic resist, which is great for making your character a walking tank. When building our class, we'll set combat as our specialization and put strength and endurance as our primary attributes. For skills, the essential 5 will be restoration, heavy armor, armorer, block and blunt. Yes, I know blade is better, but there's something about smiting undead with a mace that just feels right. Anyway, for the last 2 skills, I went with distraction to add a bit of a ranged option, as well as speechcraft, because it's hard to play the hero unless you can get people to like you in the first place. But if you want to take another magic skill like alteration in place of speechcraft, that would work fine too. Now the playstyle of this character is going to be your classic heavy armor warrior. You'll go in swinging, with a mace in one hand and a shield in the other, as well as a little magic to keep things interesting. When you exit the sewers, you'll want to head straight to Wayne Priory to drop off the amulet and pick up some supplies. Then, you have a couple options to continue your character arc. You can either continue down the main questline or go join up with a fighters guild. You'll also want to go to talk to the Prophet at Anvil's Chapel to kick off the Knights of the Nine questline. These 3 questlines will be your focus, but make sure to help out anyone in need you meet along the way, and don't forget to check out the arena. But, as the champion of the Divines, there are some strict rules you must obey. No murder, no theft, no joining illegal organizations. If you do any of these things, any crime at all, you must repent by praying at a way shrine for each of the 9 Divines. If you are to be Cyrodiil's champion, your heart must always remain pure. For equipment, your early gear will simply be the best heavy armor and blunt weapons you can find. Your endgame gear will be the Crusader's relics from the Knights of the Nine questline. Don't worry about leveling when collecting these items. If you place them on the armor stand in the Priory of the Nine, they'll be updated to scale to your current level. So if you really wanted, you could go and collect them at the start of the game, although I prefer to leave it a bit later to have something to work towards. But, as a champion of the Divines, we're going to forbid the use of any Daedric artifacts. To be honest, you won't even need them anyway. By the end of this playthrough, you'll be an absolute powerhouse, and more than worthy of the title of the Champion of Cyrodiil. Now, time for our final build. You don't remember who you are. You don't remember why you're in jail. As you lie in the dark, you can think about only one thing, the all-consuming need that occupies your brain at every hour. Skooma. You crave it with every fibre of your being. You imagine the sweet poison passing your lips, dreaming about the rush it will bring. Every moment you pass without it is torture that would make even Molag Bal cower. Without it, you're nothing, an empty shell slowly withering away. Then one day, you find yourself fleeing through the sewers, out into the open world. You have nothing but the clothes on your back, and a burning need to sate your hunger. I call this build the Skooma Fiend, and it's pretty easy to set up. Naturally, you're going to be a Khajiit, with a predilection for that deadly sugar. For specialization, we'll pick Stealth, with speed and agility as favoured attributes. Now, let's talk skills. We'll ignore blade weapons, as they cost good money that could be spent on Skooma. You're only concerned with one type of blunt, and it sure isn't axes or hammers. So with these weapons off the table, we'll be fighting our enemies the old-fashioned way, hand to hand. And as a Khajiit from Anaquina, you'll get a tasty boost to this skill too. For armour, you'll want to go light, as that will allow you to better dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge. You'll also want sneak and security to help you with thievery, and you should also pick up acrobatics and athletics to help you flee from the guards. Finally, you'll want to add alchemy, as you might need to make some homebrew potions if your skooma supply starts running low. Your character arc is simple: to consume as much skooma as possible. The need is absolute, and it can't be reasoned with. You're willing to lie, cheat, murder, and steal to meet it. And I'm not going to tell you where to find it. You'll need to go out there and immerse yourself in Cyrodiil's criminal underworld. The Thieves Guild will be your friend, and the Dark Brotherhood too, if you get desperate enough for gold. But be warned, this sweet poison is bad for your brain. Too much skooma will bring permanent consequences. And of course, you'll be shunned by the divines in the mainstream guilds, so you'll live your life on the fringes of society. Now, there isn't really any endgame gear for this playstyle, with one exception: the bands of Quang Lao. which you can find in a chest near the fighters who are practicing near the arena entrance. You'll have to steal these, but you can wash them by selling them to a fence and immediately buying them back. That way, they won't be confiscated by the guards if you're arrested. If you're really lucky, you might find Ring of the Iron Fist later in the game, a random drop which enhances hand-to-hand by 25 points. There are a couple of other hand-to-hand bonuses you can also pick up. If you visit the Warrior Birth Sign Doomstone southeast of Skingrad, you can get the Greater Power War Cry. This will fortify our hand-to-hand skill by 10 points once a day for 2 minutes. Once your combined fame and infamy reach 30, you can also visit the Jode Heaven Doomstone east of Anvil for the Greater Power Jode's Blood, which boosts your hand-to-hand by 20 points once a day for 2 minutes. You can stack these along with other buffs, giving you a huge damage spike. Honestly, this is a bit of a meme build, but it's stronger than you might think. You hit surprisingly hard and you move fast, meaning that you can easily run from anything you can't kill. And with that, our 5 builds are complete. This is a bit different from the kind of lore videos I normally make, but I'm happy to make another if enough of you like this one. And feel free to let me know down below if you try any of these for yourself. And please leave a comment if there are any topics you'd like to see me cover on the channel. And remember to click subscribe if you want to see more Elder Scrolls content. And until next time, take care.